to try and establish some market. And we're criticized for double counting decontamination with
then 15 percentage points difference between their expanded and official unemployment rates. Looking at employment shares by sector, again, looking at the 10-year period, we see growth in all the sectors actually, except in the sector that we've classified as private households, that remained about the same between the two time periods. But for the formal sector, we see that in 2011 it was at 9.8 million, and in 2021 we're seeing it has grown to 10.2 million. The formal sector in South Africa accounts for 68.3% of the total employment, followed by the informal sector at 18%, then private households at 8%, and lastly, agriculture at 5.8%. Comparing quarter on quarter in terms of the sector, employment sectors, we see that in the formal sector, shared jobs between Q1 and Q2 of about 375,000 jobs, and then in the informal sector, agriculture and the private households, we see increases in employment between these two quarters in those sectors. Now, looking at employment by industry and comparing also Q1 and Q2, we see that construction, trade, agriculture, private households, transport, utilities, and mining, we're seeing growth in employment in those industries. However, we see decreases in the industries that are shown in red on the screen, which is manufacturing, community and social services, as well as finance. The percentage changes when you compare with between the two quarters. Construction grew by 13.3% and trade by 3.6% and agriculture by 8.7%. When you look at those that indicate decreases, the manufacturing by 5.5%, the community and social services by 4.6%. Maybe I must indicate that this in community and social services, what we have observed is that there were education assistants that were appointed by the Department of Education on contract basis that we picked up in Q1, and because it was on contract and their contracts ended in Q2, then we picked up this decrease in employment in that industry. When looking at employment and GDP shares per industry, we see that community and social services, they have the highest share, the biggest share. They contribute the biggest share to the total employment, followed by trade and then finance. And when we look on the side of the GDP, when we look at it on the side of the GDP, we see that community and social services, they also contribute the biggest share of about 25.6%. However, trade, they contribute 14.9%. They are not the second biggest contributor, however, the third biggest contributor. Maybe what we need to highlight also is that on construction and agriculture, where we see in terms of employment, construction contributing 8.2%, but in terms of the GDP contributing 3.1%, and agriculture in terms of employment contributing 5.7% to total employment, but in terms of the share of the nominal GDP contributing 2.8%. Looking at employment, official unemployment rate by education, by level of education. This slide on the screen indicates a negative relationship between level of education and employment. It indicates that the higher the level of education, the smaller the rate of unemployment. You will see here that the graduates, amongst graduates, there's only 11% unemployment rate, and amongst those who have less than matric, who do not have matric, the unemployment rate in Q2 was standing at 39%. And those with matric, the unemployment rate was standing at 37% almost. And those with other tertiary qualification, it was standing at 24%. So highlighting the importance of education towards employment. Looking at the labor market rates by age group, we see that the youth age 15 to 24 years and age 25 to 34 years recorded the highest unemployment rates. The youth age 15 to 24 years recorded 64.4% unemployment rate, and those aged 25 to 34 years recorded 42.9%. And this is an increase when you compare with the previous quarter. For those aged 15 to 24 years, an increase of about 1.1 percentage points, and for those 25 to 34 years, an increase of about 1.6 percentage points. Here we are talking about the NEET. The NEET, we refer to those who are not in employment, not in education, and not in training. So we see that when we look at the age 15, at the youth age 15 to 24 years, in Q2 of 2021, the NEET, meaning those who are not in employment, not in education and training, was standing at 33%. And when we expand that age group to say 15 to 34 years, the NEET was standing at 44.2%. Looking at the official unemployment rate by population group, we see that Black Africans are worse off compared to other population groups. The unemployment rate among the Black Africans, Black African population group remains high than the national average being 84.4%, and the unemployment rate for Black Africans being 88.2%. And the official unemployment rate by population group and sex indicates that Black African women are the most vulnerable, with an unemployment rate of 41% in Q2 of 2021. And this is a 4.2 percentage points higher than the national average for females. In terms of the expanded unemployment rate by population group and sex, we see that irrespective of gender, but the Black African and colored population groups remain vulnerable in the labor market. When we look at the numbers or the proportions for 2 of 2021, Africans, in terms of the expanded unemployment rate, were standing at 48.7%, and the colored at 36.7%. When you look at the unemployment, the expected unemployment rate for whites, it was at 11.2%, and for Indians at 25.2%. We also did additional analysis on employment in relation to COVID-19, and I'm going to talk to these few slides now. So this indicates the percentage distribution of those who worked during the lockdown. So we're saying about 82.7% of those who were employed were expected to work during lockdown in Q2 of 2021, and 17.3% were not expected to report to the office. And looking at the place of work, we see that professionals and managers were more likely than all other occupations to be working from home. Professionals, 18.9% reported that they're working from home, and managers, like 15.2%, reported that they are working from home. In terms of the salaries, the pay, 91% of the employed continued to receive pay during lockdown compared to those in Q1 of 2021, where we reported 91.3%. So of those who were receiving pay, 87.2% reported that they are receiving their full salary, and 12.8% reported that they are receiving reduced salaries. Looking at full salary by level of education, we see that 94% of graduates indicated that they are receiving their full salaries, and 89% for other tertiary, and 86%. So the higher the level of education, the higher are the chances of people receiving their full salary when you look at this slide. Just to recap, we say the results of the quarterly labor force survey for Q2 of 2021, the unemployment rate standing at 34.4%, and this was an increase of about 1.8 percentage points when you compare with Q1. The absorption rate was at 37.7% and declined by less than a percentage point, while the labor force participation rate was at 57.5%. And we also indicated that finance, community and social services and manufacturing recorded the largest employment losses. Finance at 278,000, community and social services at 166,000, and manufacturing at 83,000. And we also reported that the number of the not economically active decreased by 386,000 in Q1 compared to Q2 compared to Q1 of 2021. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much. Quite an interesting and empowering presentation. Honorable members, can I check if there are any questions, clarities? I'm using my, okay, I see Honorable Dana. I see
Chair.
Honorable Kado. Yes, I see it's Honorable Dana, it's Honorable Kado, it's Honorable Nkondo. Then Honorable Dana.
Chair, I'm not sure if the problem is with anyone else, but I'm struggling to hear. I can't hear anything.
Well, maybe it's you. It's you, because I could see she was very audible. Maybe it's your network. Our members also, other members, they have the same problem.
No.
What?
Well, Abongile Dumako set the scene for us earlier. Let's now take